Hello and welcome to Box and Borders. Here's another episode where we talk all things boxing. Yes, we take the biggest talking points in boxing and football and bring you videos with those who know stuff about it. Ryan Elliott is joining me again today from Boxing News TV. Ryan, there's only one place we start. Kell Brooks, is he a quitter?
Yeah, that's been the big talking point, hasn't it? I mean, I put out a poll after the fight. Did he quit or was it justified? But I think the mistake I made, and a lot of people are making, is being a quitter is not necessarily like a bad thing. Like, for me, Kell Brooks took a knee, he quit. But that doesn't mean that that's the wrong decision or that's a bad thing to do. He took the knee because he obviously felt he was in a bad place. It's not... People have been disgusted by other people using the term quit. He took a knee, that is quitting. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, quitting doesn't have to be this disgraceful thing that we're putting on a pedestal up here. You know, the guy could have gone blind, and we saw from the Golovkin fight that he had serious issues. And if he really was seeing 5 of Errol Spence, like he said, and he'd been fighting through it, he had a right go. We thought he was finished a couple rounds before he actually took the knee, and he came out with a second win and had a right last roll of the dice. Couldn't get him out there. Took the knee, which is saying, I don't want to fight anymore. That's the end of the fight. He got counted out because he didn't want to continue. That is quitting a fight. But that is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't blame the guy. I think it's the right decision. If he goes to 12 there with that eye and it gets hit a few more times, he may never fight again. Now he's probably going to be able to come back and move up a division and have another go at it, maybe win another world title. So, did he quit? Yeah. Was it the right decision? Probably. I think he had a good go at it, and I don't blame him at all.
Yeah, I think someone summed it up perfectly on Twitter for those who are, let's say, amateur boxing fans. Having that injury in boxing is like a footballer doing a cruciate ligament and then trying to play on. Number one, it could do more damage. Number two, the agony they're in and they literally just can't continue. It's an injury that other people have had in the past where they've had serious, especially around the eye. You can have serious problems with that. Skull fractures, you can have bleeds as well, and that must play in a boxer's mind when they're in the ring. Do you think then Tony Bellew, as a fellow boxer, his comments were harsh on Brook after the fight?
Not really, because I think for someone in that position, look, I can say that it was fine for him to take the knee and count himself out. But I've never been in that position. Tony Bellew, other than the Stevenson fight, where he maybe showed a tiny little bit of quit or he turned his back a little bit, whatever, you know, you can't fault the guy for heart. He got off the deck so many times. And I think a fighter would say, and there's been a lot of fighters, the main critics have been other fighters, that you should not quit. You should be put out. You should be there until you're either knocked out or until you hear the final bell. You know, that's not harsh. It's just perhaps what they see because this is their job and that's their standing point. You know, do I think Tony Bellew would have took a knee in that situation? I don't. But I also think that's just a fighter's mentality. I'm not a fighter, you know. I'm a fat lad that writes about boxing. My perspective's obviously going to be different to Tony Bellew's or Gervonta Davis or someone like that. Some people would see it as harsh. I think it's fine either way. This is one of them things where everyone's opinion's welcome, really, because it's so open for interpretation. But my personal standing point is he can go again. That is, if he can get his mind right, because there's going to be a lot of doubt in the back of his head now.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have another operation by the looks of things. It is a broken eye socket, right? Is that the word coming out? Do we know that yet?
Yeah, I don't know if it's broken or just a fracture, but it's his orbital bone, which is the same injury he got against Golovkin. But
other eye.
Other eye, which is a real problem. And I think, you know, with the doubts from the Golovkin fight, it was probably in the back of his mind when he took that knee. What he went through last time, all the pain, the surgery, the recovering. And that's what I said to you before. I think now, a small part of me thinks it's always going to be in the back of his mind, which is a big problem for a fighter. Because a fighter cannot compete at the top level with self-doubt. I hope he gets over it. But that could have been one of the reasons Son took a knee. And you know what? If he's prevented himself serious damage, you know, is it the worst thing?
No, you can't argue with it, can you? And talking about that, the doubt in the back of the mind and being able to take punches now on those, in that part of the face, in that part of the head. Moving up a weight to bigger punchers, bigger fighters, heavier fighters. Is that really a feasible thing to do now? Do you think he has to move up weight, or do you think there really is a future for Kell Brooks moving up weight?
Yeah, I say that he'll go up and he could win a world title, but at the same time, A, I don't know who's going to want to face him that's got a belt. B, that whole thing of self-doubt. Will he ever have the confidence again to reach that elite level?
To take a
Like,
big punch as well, a massive
yeah,
punch at
yeah, yeah.
154.
Will he panic if he's put in that situation at 154, fine well known that he's had surgery on both of his eyes? Potentially, but that we won't know. Only Kell will know that when he's put in that situation. But the first point I made there is, again, who at 154 where the belt's going to want to face Kell Brook? He's not a mandatory for any position. Do you really think Kell Brook would have voluntarily spaced Errol Spence? He wasn't as mandatory. No, he wouldn't. So for me, it's the same situation with Kell at 154. Yes, there'll be these doubts perhaps in his mind, but he's still one hell of a fighter. He's probably going to be just as good, if not better, 154 because he's not draining himself. That extra 7 pounds might help him a bit. Who is going to voluntarily look at Kell Brook and go, yeah, I'll have that? Because none of the fighters at 154 are really box office fighters. They're not going to draw money over here, so there's no point in bringing them over. But also, Kell's going to give them nothing in the US but a hard time. So he's probably going to have to... It's a long road back for Kell up there. I'd like to see him have a crack at it maybe, but he's going to have to probably get himself in a mandatory position before people even think about welcoming it.
Well, I was going to say, Ryan, how does this affect an Amir Khan fight? Khan was mentioning summer, maybe next summer, but then surely he'll want to get over this injury, fight before the end of the year at 154, and then go and fight Khan maybe next summer. Khan will need a tune-up fight. Surely Kell Brook now can't wait a year and then go to 147 again and make weight for a Khan fight. Surely that's a long time for Brook.
I think if Kell Brook had won and he came out in okay shape, obviously not needing any surgery or anything, that they would have announced that fight.
But
on
now
the night.
you don't think it's going to happen.
That's what I think. But I also think with everything that's happened and the fact Kell really don't have a choice but to move up, and Amir, I think he's got like 3 dates scheduled in for after Ramadan. I don't see that fight ever happening.
Oh, it's such a shame for
really
UK fight fans.
It's such a letdown. That's just my personal view. I think that the ship's sailed now. I don't see why Kell, even for the money, would come back from 154 after a few fights for one at 147. Would he even be able to come back down later in his career? I don't think the demand's still great, but I don't think it's as big. One thing I can say is definitely won't be next for either man. For me, does it happen? I don't think it ever does.
No, it's a shame. It's a shame. I'd love to see those two in a ring together. Talking quickly about Saturday night, can we hit on George Groves quickly? Just a word on Groves. At fourth time of asking, he is now a world champion.
Yeah, he is, and it's been a long time coming because he must be one of the best active fighters on the planet not to have a world title.
Yeah.
George Groves on his night is unbelievable. He's definitely world class. His jab is an absolute hell of a tool against anyone. And I think we saw that. People were thinking going into it perhaps that this was his easy touch for a world title. Finally, he's got a break for a world title. Let me tell you, Fedor Chudinov, he can fight. Like, it wasn't as wide of a gap in class as people think because he's a tough man. I remember watching him against Sturm a while ago and he got robbed and he was unbelievable that night. He just doesn't stop. He keeps coming forward. He's relentless. And you'll have to nail him to the canvas if you want him to be counted out. And I think we saw that. He came out, George had problems first 2 rounds. And I think a lot of us were starting to think it's going to be one of them nights again. It could be one of them.
He said it was like being in a ring with Froch again.
yeah, exactly. That's what he said, didn't he? He thought he was in with another Froch. He was belting him with shots, and they were just bouncing off him. And he kept coming. And then George, out of nowhere, he just found this other gear and just really put it on him. I think it was 20 unanswered punches. And like I said, you would have to have nailed Chudinov to the canvas to keep him down. Mm-hmm. He couldn't get him down, but the stoppage probably could have come 6 or 7 punches earlier. There was no need for him to take all that punishment, but what a tough man, a great fighter. He'll come back and he'll be in some great fights because he's a fun watch, to be honest, Chudinov. But Groves, no one would take his moment. It was an unbelievable performance. He dug his heels in and he earned every bit of that world title because it's been a hard road back for George Groves. If you think to come back from not only one disappointing stoppage, to come back and then get knocked out like that at Wembley Stadium, and then to lose in America, that's a really hard road back. And my word, he's earned his title, and he's a problem for anyone at 168. I don't think Callum Smith is fit to lace his boots.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. What fight do you think's next for him then, George Groves?
I think they're going to talk about the DeGale rematch. But for now, I think George might have a little break, and I don't blame him. Maybe he's have a month or so off because it's been a long road. He's been through some hardships. I think the Gutneck fight still really plays on his mind psychologically.
Yeah.
I know he dedicated to his win women. He was very emotional. Obviously, the whole world title thing's played on his mind too. He's finally probably at peace with himself. So I think the guy will have a bit of time out and then look to maybe negotiate that DeGale rematch before the end of the year.
Well, originally, there was a rumour that DeGale may fight at the start of July on a Matchroom card. We spoke before about a possible July date for Matchroom. Loads of rumours were circling on what fighters might be on that. White, Chisora maybe. Have you heard anything else about that card? Because it seems that everything now has gone quite quiet, and it's got quite late for anything big to be announced right now for the hype. I mean, do you think there will still be a big Matchroom card before that July-August break?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be big, but there will be a card. Obviously, they've got Newcastle 23rd of June, which isn't big, but it's one of them next-gen shows, which I'm a big fan of.
Josh Kelly, isn't it?
Yeah, we spoke about that. And but for a big show, it is really late. I think it's 4.5, 5 weeks notice now. Hearn, there's a lot of fighters he really needs to get out before this little break, and time's running out. July 1st is a day given to a few fighters, actually. And fighters hate nothing more than not having a day in the gym.
Yeah.
So he's got to put something together. I think he's struggling for a venue. I genuinely think White's not going to fight before the break now. And I think with a lot of the lads that have been promised July 1st as their date, now because there's no big main event, he can't really use the O2 because it'll be half full, let's be honest. So I think he's just trying to work out the logistics behind it, but he really is running out of time because a lot of these fighters will want to be out before then, and we're obviously disappointed to not be out, well, in what would be a few days' time.
Yeah, well, we have to wait and see about that, but one fight we do know that's happening, it's going to be on Channel 5, Ryan. It's going to be on Freeview TV. Josh Taylor and Ohara Davies are going to be going at it. The first press conference in Glasgow, you was there. What was the atmosphere like? What were the two like? I hear Ohara Davies has been totally reformed as a character.
Yeah, different man. Yeah, of course.
People change overnight.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he did. But nah, the press conference was good. It was a bit more subdued than I expected. Like there was a good turnout though. Like quite a lot of people came down because it was made open to the public.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fans down there. They weren't as vocal as the Liverpool fans for that Derry Matthews press conference, but they were still giving him a bit of stick, and it was all in good jest anyway. But Ohara, out of everyone, he spoke for the longest out of everyone at the table, but was also the most respectful, which was really bizarre. And a lot of people think that because, he's guaranteed his money, he's on a Cyclone show, that, he's thought, I don't need to promote this. This is fine. I can sit back. They can do the selling if they really want me. If they really want this to do well, they're going to have to sell it. And a lot of people are also saying that it wasn't him saying that. It was Eddie Hearn saying that. Or it was Frank Smith saying that. But whoever said it, it was really clever. And I think a lot of people thought Josh Taylor was rattled. Let me tell you, Josh Taylor was fine.
What about his camp though? Because I sat down and obviously watched IFL afterwards for all the bits and bobs. I was reading your timeline as well because I knew you were there. And Barry McGuigan, Shane McGuigan, and Josh Taylor, they did seem quite angry after the press conference. Like they weren't nice about Ohara Davies. They were very, very. It was like they were saying stuff after the press conference to get a reaction from him next time. And a lot of fighters. And a lot of people are saying that the camp may have been slightly rattled by Davies sort of sitting back. You don't think that is the case? You don't think they are rattled at all? They know it's mind games?
No, look, Barry came up to me afterwards and he said, what do you think happened there? I was like, look, we both know that someone's told him to just take it easy or take a step back. It's either that or what Frank Smith told me was that Ohara just decided he wanted to be himself. And, I think there's actually a good kid under there, so that could be the case. But Barry, literally 5 minutes after the press conference, he won't have been too bothered. we sat and had lunch afterwards, the team, and everyone was fine. Josh Taylor, he was sitting reading through tweets of people saying he was rattled while sat there having a little chuckle to himself, having his lunch. He wasn't bothered. He was just like, why do these people think because they've watched a video of me for 5 minutes, they can learn everything about me? He was okay. He was like, I'm barely going to go on here in the next few weeks talking about Twitter. He was like, I prefer to be on it when I'm not fighting. And he said that's what Cole Frampton does. And he's not bothered, Josh. I think he was a bit disappointed he couldn't get more of a reaction in front of his fans, but it's not something that's in the back of his mind. And I think in my heart of hearts, when Ohara's a bit closer to the weight and it's getting to that time, he might just have a little nibble next time. But of course, it would have been better if he had said something ridiculous, or he had came in, dancing or singing or whatever. Of course, that's good for interest and ticket sales and whatever, but this will sell plenty of tickets anyway. The sales have got off to a really good start. It's going to be on terrestrial TV. The audience is still going to be massive. And to be honest, a lot of people are talking anyway about the fact he didn't react. It's still publicity. So this fight is a treat. We should enjoy it. It's two of the best prospects we have in the country. They're fighting on terrestrial television. They're both willing to risk their padded record or their unbeaten record so early, and the only reason is they both believe they're going to win, and they both believe they win this fight on terrestrial television. They're the next big thing. This is huge for the winner, massive. And to have two guys like Groves de Gale style really thinking, yeah, I can take care of him, and then I'm the guy, I'm the next big thing coming out of Britain. That's brilliant. We don't get it very often.
It also sets up a rivalry, doesn't it, Ryan? Sorry to butt in. It sets up a nice little rivalry that if this does go one fighter's way, there's a chance of maybe even a rematch because of how big the fight is, how much it's going to draw, and also down to the fact that it's going to be in the public eye because it's on Freeview TV. It's going to be. There's a great potential here for a David and Goliath situation. There's a great potential here for a proper rivalry in British boxing.
Well, that's it, and I keep talking about Groves de Gale to people as the benchmark for this, because if you look at Groves de Gale now, they both did that. They both said, well, I can beat you. I'm the number one guy coming through. They had that fight. It was a good fight. And we know what happened afterwards. We know that the tables turned perhaps, but now they've both got world titles. And think about how much money they're going to make for a rematch now. Mm-hmm. Because the first one, these two guys go on to great things no matter who loses. There is a potential for a second one, and then a rubber match. And then that whole rivalry could define their careers later down the line. But for now, like I say, people should just enjoy it because it's so rare to have two unbeaten domestic prospects this early just going, yeah, I'm going to prove I'm the best in my division, in my country first, before I'm even looking for some intercontinental title or something like that, or looking for an easy world title shot. They want both of these guys. They don't want the easy way up. They want to prove that they're the best in their division, in the country, before they go on and show they're the best in Europe, before they go on and show they're the best in the world. And like I say, just enjoy it while it lasts because it's brilliant to have on terrestrial TV.
Yeah, and it's all on the line. Commonwealth and WBC super lightweight titles are on grabs, and Ohara Davies 15-0, 12 of KOs. Josh Taylor, of course, 8 KOs. How are you seeing this one going early on, Ryan? I mean, I know that you've spent quite a lot of time with the Taylor camp. Obviously, though, we've spoken before about Ohara Davies. You are a fan. You do like him. Early on, I'd hate to try and get a prediction from you, but how do you see the fight going?
I think that Ohara is far more hittable, but I also think he carries more power, so the two sort of balance themselves out. I think early it'll be a couple of cagey rounds while Ohara tries to find his range and Josh tries to find his range. And what I worry for Ohara is if Josh is allowed to settle into his rhythm in the first 2 or 3 rounds, it could be a cakewalk. Because
the crowd behind him as well, the glass.
Yeah.
Well,
look, he's that fast and he's that accurate. Like, even at dinner yesterday, I can't remember who said it. Someone just said to him, like, you do realise if you settle early on, it could be not an easy night, but a comfortable one. And that's my worry for Ohara. I think he needs to find his range quickly and start putting it on Josh Taylor and trying to land a few big shots to sort of gain his respect, because Josh has got it in him to settle and just have fun actually in there and box his head off and put together some unbelievable combos and put on a show. So for me, I have Taylor as a slight favourite, but Ohara Davies, he can bang. And even now, I think people, because of Ohara's mouth and whatever else, they perhaps overlook the fact he's an unbelievable prospect.
Yeah.
Ohara's got serious talent. He can punch, but if you look at, I know Derry Matthews, he was probably on his last legs and whatever, but the way he disposed of him, that still takes some doing. And I think, like I say, I'd make Taylor the slight favourite, but don't be surprised to see it go either way.
It's going to be a very, very interesting fight on July the 8th. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. I know you only got back from Glasgow last night, Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for coming on, and we'll speak to you, let's hope, before this anyway. We've got a next gen coming up as well, so we'll chat to you before these big fights.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Remember, we're Box and Ballers. You hear from Ryan again soon. If you want more football and boxing content, make sure you subscribe. We've got more end-of-season football reviews coming up and some more boxing videos coming your way at the end of the week. Ciao for now.